Okay, welcome back. We are MGMT203. This time for week 2, we already discussed stakeholders. Now we want to discuss communications because the two, frankly, are hand in glove. When you think stakeholders, think communications. When you think communications, think stakeholders. Frankly, they belong together. And in fact, in the PMBOK guide, as recently as version 4, they were in the same chapter. You'll notice when you read about them, there's a lot of similarities between them. So, getting started today, we are beginning with Make Each Day Your Masterpiece, John Wooden, legendary basketball coach. So let's do that as project managers. Communication management is our focus. It is no longer the PMBOK Guide chapters 4 through 13. It is now chapters 1 through 3 with key aspects of it listed on your Moodle page for this week, key areas and words to search for. I also included a PDF version of the PMBOK Guide, Edition 7. It'll make your reading a little easier on the go and helps you search for terms and other key ideas. This is just a review slide again. You're welcome to stop, pause, consider, reflect on what this means. But over here we have really the strategic level. From the strategic level, the business case, then we're ready to kick off a project because we're fulfilling some strategic gap that was identified. And you'll go through initiating and planning, executing your project, which is building it, the deliverable, controlling it until you can get it stable, and then closing your project. Pause, enjoy it, reflect. You, the project manager, are all of the yellow processes, and notice everything is coming into you. You are integrating all of it. You are responsible. Generally, we speak of 3 basic processes in communications. We're going to plan it, and then we're going to manage it, and then we're going to monitor and control it. Here's a key point that you should grasp, right? Poor communication, which is 90% of what you're going to do as a project manager. Poor communication has a big impact later in the project cycle. If you communicate poorly over here at the beginning of a project, it's not going to have a huge impact. But if you communicate poorly out here, expect a big impact to your cost and schedule. Get good at it, right, is my advice to anybody, okay? And here are some of the things. This is one reason it's so hard, why it involves stakeholders and communications working together. Again, 90% of what a project manager does is communication. But look at the nest of people that you have to manage, function, communicate with, solicit input, manage changes, etc. You've got your own team, right, and experts there. You've got your sponsor, who owns your budget and has a role in every part of the project, signing your charter, signing your project plan, etc. with you. You've got maybe your portfolio and program managers above you. What about the functional managers and then the operations managers that you have to work with? Likely your deliverables may be going to operations, but you're working with the experts under a functional management area like maintenance to get it done. Of course, there are other customers, business partners, sellers, suppliers. These are a lot of external people. Customers can be internal too, and then of course regulatory agencies. I could probably add to that. I just think it really captures what stakeholders and communications is all about. So we want to plan communications well. So the key is come up with a communications management plan. When you do that, your communications management plan should consider these things right down here at the bottom. Notice that you will also want to update as an output your stakeholder register because you will have learned more things about stakeholders along the way. Now you have some tools available to you, right? One is to understand the stakeholder communications channels. How many communications channels are there? Well, you can count them, right? And all of the interactions that can go on, I put them in different colors. purple, blue, yellow, etc. Or you can just use this formula, which is n times n minus 1 divided by 2, where n is the number of stakeholders. Don't forget, the project manager is a stakeholder. So if I have 8 stakeholders, it would be n, which is 8, times n minus 1 divided by 2. I have 28 communications channels with just 8 stakeholders. I once had a project that had 19,000 communications channels. That's a lot. Anyhow, I had a great team. They made it successful. Okay, these are some examples you could run on your own, have fun with it, but don't feel like you have to. Now, when I'm doing communications, project management will always prefer face-to-face. You know why? I jump down here. Here's why. The majority of face-to-face communication are nonverbals. So 55% of communication are nonverbals. That's why I prefer face-to-face, right? So anyhow, there are lots of ways you can communicate, maybe informal written, informal verbal, formal written, formal verbal, etc. And there are others, and some of them are particular to the predictive or waterfall approach, others to the agile or change-driven approach. But either way, and this list could go on as well. These are just examples. Don't forget, there's gonna be noise, right? Noise are things that are barriers to communication. It interferes with communicating. The military is known for it. Acronyms soup everywhere, right? And so one way to get through that is active listening. Active listening is always positive. So it's a lot of nuggets on this slide as you're going to consider these things this week as you read PMBOK Guide Edition 7. You're going to do project communications and engagement, consider models, methods, and other artifacts, as well as the types of communication. Well, speaking of the types of communication, I refer back to the Comm model. Here's a basic communications model. It's not complicated by the Project Management Institute. We have a sender who will encode the message. It'll transmit over some medium. The receiver will decode the message, and they will send feedback to the sender. But all of this can get garbled by a lot of things, including your current emotional state on either side, their culture from either side, and personality, right? It can get very complex, even though only a few words are said. It's important on this slide, I just want to point out that to acknowledge the feedback from the receiver, right? And the receiver will do that from the sender as well. You both have responsibilities for that, okay? Earlier I mentioned noise. I put it in an acronym, NHL Link. I know link is normally with a K, but it didn't work, so LINC. Noisy surroundings, hostility, length of distance, language, improper encoding, negative statements, and culture. So these can be blockers that we want to be aware of and open up, okay? Now, when I'm talking communications methods, there are really 3 types to be aware of. There's this interactive dialogue. This is a multi-direction exchange, right? This is the most effective. And again, I prefer face-to-face. There's also push communications like emails, or pull communications where I can pull down from a SharePoint site that manages the budget and you make your inputs into that site. I'm pulling from it. So interactive, push, pull are really the communications methods to consider along the way. Very interesting. And so in a large project, you would use all of them, right? You'll push emails to certain stakeholders. You pull down from maybe a global set of project managers or coordinators working for you. And of course, your meetings should be at least interactive, okay? Let's see. Yeah, this is a good background on different approaches that can be utilized to tailor your communications as you desire. Now, don't forget, as project manager, you are going to have meetings. Alrighty then. So these are just some notes on basic rules for project meetings. And so you'd want to consider down at the bottom group norms, cultural artifacts, build on your skills to deal with people. Maybe consider Myers-Briggs training. Myers-Briggs is about personality preferences. We all have personality preferences. Doesn't mean it's what we're going to do, but these are our preferences. And understanding yours and understanding your teams will help you be a better project manager because you're able to pull things from them. Now, this should look familiar. We're talking communications management, but look at me. I'm referring back to the stakeholder register. No need to explain it. We had it in the last 15-minute lecture. But these two are tied together because from that stakeholder register, I'm going to build my communications plan, right? I'm going to describe the communications, who's the audience, what's the purpose of the communication, how I'm going to send it, what vehicle. This STAR chapter was a website that collected money, right? And that was just called STAR chapter. Who is the approver of the communications? I use Seinfeld characters. The timing of the communications, owner and status, etc. This is a good Comm plan translated from the stakeholder analysis and the stakeholder register. Then, of course, I need to manage the communications along the way, which managing communications means I need to create, collect, store, retrieve, use, and dispose of information. Communications really isn't about the words I choose. It's about information that I'm collecting on my project that may drive changes or support changes or reject changes. This is information I'm dealing with. That's really what communication is all about. So when I manage communications, notice in the whole output is just project communications. Work that Comm plan and update it as necessary, especially as you update your stakeholder register. Okay, and you can use other reports to help communicate. Remember I said communications is really about creating, storing, pulling out, using, and disposing of information. These are various types of information reports that can meet your needs in terms of communication in project management. Some are better for predictive projects, some are better for agile. I just throw that in. You can pause and enjoy that yourself. But that's what this is about. This is communicating information to stakeholders. You want decisions and support. Okay. And then, of course, controlling communications is important. Of course, all of this is going to require a lot of interpersonal and team skills, which is one of the reasons this week we talk about leadership skills, tailoring leadership styles in PMBOK Guide version 7 along the way. This is really just a summary of what I've just covered. These are, I basically have broken up into an old format, communications management, into 3 easy processes. This is what's going on when I'm planning, when I'm managing, and when I'm controlling or monitoring communications. And these are the key outputs that I'm working with in each of those areas. That's it. Had a lot of fun. Let's get back online. Comm and stakeholders go together. See you guys.